Okay, hi everybody. Hi Oscar, Trishala, Davion, James. Hi Chloe. Hi Miranda. I hope you guys are doing well today. Welcome to class. Okay, today what we are going to do is we are going to work through module 2. Well, 2.1, okay? And so we're going to do some reading. We're going to watch some videos. We're going to do some talking. And then the last 30 minutes or so of class, we're going to find our text. We're going to commit to that text and we're going to get started working on it, okay? All right. So, if you guys will join me in Canvas, we want to start with 2.1 and I will drop the link into the chat in just a moment. Let me pull it up. Okay, join me here. Oh my goodness, I forgot to take attendance. Sorry, darlings, give me just 1 minute to take attendance. Yep. Okay. Okay. So let's start talking. We have talked before about the rhetorical universe. That is the idea that arguments, persuasion is all around us. Day and night, you guys receive messages, words, images, sounds that are meant to persuade you to do something or think a certain way. You send them as well. In fact, look at what you're wearing right now. The music that you listen to, the foods you eat. These are all messages about who you are, what you value. These messages may be blaring and it may be subtle, but they express a point of view, your point of view, whether you realize it or not. So rhetoric moves into argument when it makes a claim and offers support for that claim. So think of the claim as like the main assertion of the argument. Okay, we're going to watch a short video and I want you guys to think about what the claims, the arguments are that are being made in this video. It's about 90 seconds long. We're going to be watching a bunch of stuff today. So you're going to want to get a sheet of paper and a pen to write with, or you're going to want to use the journal feature in Canvas. And the journal feature is on the left-hand side in the menu of blue words. There's journal, and if you click on that, it'll come up. So I'll give you a minute to grab a pencil and paper if you need it for notes. That's what I do. I'm a pencil and paper kind of girl. Or to use the journal feature. Dan, you want to take notes? Or you want to take notes? Sure. I'm going to make him take notes. Hang on. Ha ha, that's what happens when you come in person. Pencil, paper? That's how I am. Okay. Okay, you're good. All right, Davion's ready. Miss Ritchie's ready. Are you ready? Let's do this. Okay, quick video, and we're looking for main claims here. All right, just main claims. Oh, wait. I got to mute myself. Sorry.
Arguments are all around us. Some arguments are obvious. We tend to associate the word argument with confrontation, with passion, with explicit attempts to convince others that something is true or right. We see these arguments in political discussions and law proceedings and on reality TV shows about celebrity chef apprentice fashion designers. But many more arguments go unnoticed. We see them in advertisements that try to get us to buy a product or service. We text and tweet them to each other without even realizing it. We absorb them through our entertainment, in our books and music, while watching a football game or the school band. We're surrounded by statements about our history, embedded with arguments about what events have meant to us and what's significant about our experiences. And our lives are shaped by important arguments from the past. Arguments are all around us, but it's up to us to recognize them, to understand what they claim, how those claims are supported, and who they're trying to persuade.
Okay, in that video, what was the main claim, the main assertion?
Arguments are all around us.
Yes, ma'am. Arguments are everywhere. And whose responsibility is it to kind of cipher through them and figure out what they mean? It's yours, right? And there's a lot of different types of arguments out there that surround us. Very good, James. Okay, great job. Okay, so in Canvas, we're going to go to the next page, which is 2.1.2, which is defining an argument, okay? So let me put this in the chat just in case you didn't press next. Okay, so the text that you have to pick, and when I say text, I don't just mean a written text this year or this semester. I mean anything can be a text, a video, a cartoon, a drawing, okay? So that text, it has to be effective at argument. So we got to figure out what an argument is and what an argument isn't. So when you hear the word argument, the stereotype is usually fighting, all right? I got in an argument with someone. That usually means you've gotten a fight. You might think of yelling and bullying. You might even think of violence. You might think of profanity, verbal abuse. But unless the shouters are shouting back claims and support, it's not really an argument. We're going to watch this video about argument by Monty Python. They're our British comedy troupe. They did The Holy Grail. They did Life of Brian. I think they're hysterical. So if you're watching my face while we watch this, I will be laughing. But it's not, for everyone. So no judgment if you don't think it's funny. Okay, anyway, this is called the Argument Clinic. And you can take notes on this. And here are the things I want you to think about. What is an argument? How is the word argument defined? What actions or behaviors are not arguments according to the main character? What is the point of the skit? How does the interplay between the characters accent or highlight or emphasize the main point of the skit? And speaking of accents, how might the skit have been different if it was rewritten for American actors? Because this is definitely British comedy here, okay? So here are the questions. Here's the video. We're gonna watch it. And if you wanna know me a little bit better, this is totally my sense of humor. Haha, okay. I'll talk to you guys in a few minutes.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have an argument, please.
Certainly, sir. Have you been here before?
No, this is my first time.
I see. Do you want to have the full argument, or were you thinking of taking a course?
Well, what would be the cost?
Well, yes, it's £1 for a 5-minute argument, but only £8 for a course of 10.
Well, I think it's probably best if I start with the one and see how it goes from there, okay?
Fine. I'll see who's free at the moment. Mr. Dubake is free, but he's a little bit conciliatory. Yes, sir. Try Mr. Barnard, room 12.
Thank you. yourselves outside.
Don't give me that, you snotty-faced heap of parrot droppings!
What?
Shut your festering gob, you tit! Your type makes me puke! You vacuous, toffee-nosed, malodorous pervert!
Look, I came in here for an argument.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is abuse.
Oh. Oh, I see. Well, that explains it.
Yes. Oh, no, you want 12A next door.
I see.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not at all. No, that's all right. Stupid git. Coming.
Is this the right room for an argument?
I've told you once.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
When?
Just now.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Didn't.
I did.
Didn't.
I'm telling you I did.
You did not.
Oh, I'm sorry, is this a 5-minute argument or the full half hour?
Oh, just the 5-minute one.
Fine. Thank you. Anyway, I did.
You most certainly did not.
Now, let's get one thing quite clear. I most definitely told you.
You did not.
Yes, I did.
You did not.
Yes, I did.
Didn't.
Yes, I did.
Didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, this isn't an argument.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. It's just contradiction.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
It is. You just contradicted me.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
No.
You did just then.
No, nonsense.
Oh, look, this is futile.
No, it isn't.
I came here for a good argument.
No, you didn't. You came here for an argument.
Well, an argument's not the same as contradiction.
Can be.
No, it can't. An argument's a connected series of statements to establish a definite proposition.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. It isn't just contradiction.
Look, if I argue with you, I must take up a contrary position.
But it isn't just saying, no, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. Argument's an intellectual process. Contradiction is just the automatic gainsaying of anything the other person says.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Not at all.
No, look.
Thank you. Morning.
What?
That's it. Morning.
But I was just getting interested.
Sorry, the 5 minutes is up.
That was never 5 minutes just now.
I'm afraid it was.
No, it wasn't.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to argue anymore.
What?
If you want me to go on arguing, you'll have to pay for another 5 minutes.
But that was never 5 minutes just now. Oh, come on. This is ridiculous.
I'm very sorry, but I told you I'm not allowed to argue unless you pay.
Oh, all right. There you are. Well,
Well, what?
that was never 5 minutes just
I
now.
told you I'm not allowed to argue unless you pay.
I just paid.
No, you didn't.
I did. I did. Look, I don't want to argue about
Well,
that.
I'm very sorry, but you didn't pay.
Aha! Well, if I didn't pay, why are you arguing? Gotcha.
No, you haven't.
Is that? If you're arguing, I must have paid.
Not necessarily. I could be arguing in my spare time.
I've had enough of this.
No, you haven't.
Oh, shut up. I want to complain.
You want to complain? Look at these shoes. I've only had them 3 weeks and they're all right.
No, I want to complain about the man.
Complain, nothing happens. You might just as well not bother, and my back hurts. And whenever you had a fun day, look at
I want to complain.
Hold your head like this and then go, wah! Try it again.
Whoa!
Better, but wah, wah! Hold your hands here.
No!
Now.
Ah!
That's it, good!
Stop hitting me!
What?
Stop hitting me!
Stop hitting you.
Yes,
Well, what did you come in here for?
I came here to complain.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's next door. It's being hit on the head lessons in here.
What a stupid concept.
Okay. So there you go. That is Monty Python, who I love. If you thought that was remotely funny, check out their movies. They're amazing. Okay, let's talk here. According to this skit, what is an argument?
Like people yelling at each other.
It is people yelling at each other, or it's not?
I mean, it's not, but like that's what they're making it seem like it is.
Okay. What do you think, Davion?
Difference in opinion.
It's a difference in opinion. When our main character walks in and starts to have that conversation, and the guy is just contradicting him, saying, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not. He gets mad and he says, but this isn't an argument. An argument is a collection of statements aimed at, persuading someone. And that's why he gets frustrated, because he wants an argument, a discussion of differing viewpoints, and what he's getting is contradiction. which is not the same thing, right? So it's a skit, but it's funny. I mean, but it has a point. Okay. If we scroll down just a little bit more on that page, let's look at what this says. Have you ever heard that someone was playing devil's advocate or that they were arguing just for the sake of arguing? Do you think that those who argue are disagreeable, bossy, impolite, unhappy, or simply contradictory? In other words, isn't argument something that we've been taught we should avoid? As the man who was paying for the argument points out, contradiction by itself, that's not an argument. There's a stereotype of the arguer, someone who simply wants to be disagreeable, who will contradict whatever's being claimed. But in fact, the person who acts in a disagreeable, bossy, or impolite manner, or who simply contradicts whatever is said without offering any clear rebuttal, isn't going to convince anybody that their position is right. You just are having this circular discussion. And the goal of the argument should be to persuade, right? So an argument isn't shouting, and it's not being argumentative. What do we mean when we say argument in this course? Well, argument theory assumes that humans are complex, rational beings who can and should use reason, not violence or bullying to settle differences and arrive at best solutions. In this course, we'll use the term argument to mean the communication of a claim and support for that claim. In the final part of the clip, we saw several examples of contradictory and argumentative communication. However, we also saw a couple of examples that fit our definition of the argument. When the man who paid for the argument said an argument is not the same as contradiction, and then follows this declaration with an argument is a collected series of statements to establish a proposition, he's making a claim and supporting it. He seems reasonable. Later in the clip, that same man asserts, I just paid. He's making a claim. And when he says, but if I didn't pay, why are you arguing? He's offering support for that claim, right? Okay. We're going to watch another clip. This clip got a lot of play on YouTube, but it's older, okay? It's from when Obama was president. And as we watch this clip, it's from Fox News. It's Megyn Kelly and Anthony Weiner, and they are having a discussion about a Supreme Court justice. I want you to think about these questions. What's the overarching topic of the interview? What is the side argument they are having? Like, why is the context important enough for them that they're bringing it up on national TV? When do they support their claims well? When do they not? When are they not arguing, but just fighting? There are several differences in their styles of argumentation. What are they? Was there a clear winner? Why or why not? Why do you think this video got so much attention on YouTube? Okay, so this is real world, not a skit. This is actual live, well, it was live. It's actual footage from Fox News. All right, I'm going to mute myself and we will watch it. Anybody have any questions so far? Good.
It started in part with complaints about Ginny Thomas, who is the wife of Clarence Thomas, and lobbying work that she did for organizations that oppose that federal health care overhaul law. When Justice Thomas defended his wife this past weekend, the calls for his recusal got even louder. Congressman Anthony Weiner is a Democrat from New York, and he is leading the charge to get Justice Thomas to recuse himself. Congressman Weiner, thank you for being back on the program. Well, so what is the big deal about Justice Thomas and his marriage and his comments about supporting his wife?
Well, what it comes down to is a pretty clear federal law that requires judges and justices to recuse themselves whenever there is an appearance of impropriety, or not an appearance of impropriety as much as an appearance of a bias in the case.
Right.
And it has certain categories that you must recuse yourself. And one of them is if you or your household, your spouse, has any financial interest in the outcome. And we found out recently that Ginny Thomas, the spouse of Justice Thomas, has received more than $700,000 from organizations whose existence is based on making sure that the health care bill is ruled unconstitutional. And it got even worse this weekend, as you pointed out in your lead-in, because Justice Thomas basically said he agreed with his wife. So now it's pretty clear that he's stated his bias in the case before it's reached him. And under the clear letter of the law, he must recuse himself.
I just want to respond to that because the first point, speaking to her interest as a lobbyist, What I'm told by Supreme Court experts, I covered the High Court for 3 years and I practiced law for 9. But what I am told by my Supreme Court expert contacts, and these are folks who are on the left, I want to state for the record, is that having any sort of a professional interest in a case, as his wife arguably does, is not grounds for recusal. It'd be a different thing if Clarence Thomas himself had stock in some company that was being affected, but they say this is not that. But I want to address your second point.
But before you go off that,
sure, go ahead.
before you go off that, let me just, I'll read you from U.S. Title 28. Any justice must disqualify himself in any of the following circumstances. He, individually, or his spouse has a financial interest in the subject matter in controversy.
No, but she lobbies for groups who are opposed to this health care law.
And raises money doing it.
Right, but that's not the same as what these experts are telling me. So that's fine. I see your point.
117 law professors on the left and right have argued differently. And remember, this is about the perception.
No, not about that specific point. Let me get to your second point because I don't have a lot of time because you don't have a lot of time for me. So now you suggest that.
If you're stating
well, now
something
you've suggested that the justice.
It's a matter of opinion.
You've suggested that the justice.
Aaron, it is.
All right. You suggested that Justice Thomas came out and spoke to a group. It was the Federalist Society, which is a group of conservative thinking lawyers.
No, not the Federalist Society.
Who was it then?
It was this weekend. It was at a conference of conservative activists, but we know very little about it except that where he spoke. But the Federalist Society is not the issue. You can talk about your views. Justices can speak whenever they want.
Well, what exactly did he say that has you upset? What exactly then?
What he said
I
is,
have a quote of him on tape, and I don't know if we're talking about the same one.
Oh, go ahead. You can go ahead and use your side.
All right. Will you tell me if this is it?
Okay, go ahead.
Take a listen to Justice Thomas.
I watched my bride, who been doing the same thing when she started her organization. She gave together 24/7 every day in defense of liberty. And maybe that's why we're equally yoked, and we love being with each other because we love the same thing. We believe in the same thing. That we are focused on defending liberty.
Is that it? I love my wife. We believe in the same thing.
Not the love I wife part. The point that she stands up for the defense of liberty, meaning the things she stands against are not in defense of liberty, and that she agrees with them. Listen, let me make this very clear. Justice Thomas' spouse has every ability to be able to earn her income and state her views wherever she wants. The Supreme Court has a very high obligation, as all courts do, to make sure there's not appearance that the case is pre-baked. If it's a lower court and you believe that it is, you can take it on appeal. Where can you take it with the Supreme Court? Which is why the test for recusal is so high, which is why Justice Kagan has recused herself in fully 50% of the cases this year, so that there's no perception
whatsoever. She was the Solicitor General of the United States. That's a different story. She actually had an active role as counsel, which is also in the U.S. Code.
In many cases,
listen.
In many cases, she didn't.
Listen, just let me get to the next point.
Without letting. No. First, let me respond to your point.
I'm responding to your point, sir. You mentioned Justice Kagan. I'm just pointing out for the viewers so they know that she was the Solicitor General and therefore she had to. But let me tell you, sir. Let me tell you. But you're throwing everything at me, so I can't offer any response.
No, but I get an opportunity. You're doing an interview, so let me respond to your question.
Why don't you just do a soliloquy? Okay, you just take it away.
Okay, this is the way interviews work. You ask a question, then I get to answer.
Oh, thank you.
When you put your commentaries at the end, they better be factually correct, and in this case, they aren't.
Was she or was she not the Solicitor General of the United States?
That was not the part that I'm taking exception to, if you let me finish my thought.
I remember covering her confirmation hearing to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what goes on at Fox is actually coverage, but we'll get that to another conversation.
Okay.
You said she had to recuse herself. She did not. She chose to in many cases where she had very little role in, simply because of the appearance was there. That's what Justice Thomas should do.
If you were a lawyer in the case,
I responded to something that you said.
If you were a lawyer in the case, you have to recuse yourself, even if you signed a brief.
She did not.
Even if you signed a brief.
She did not recuse herself only in those circumstances. That's the point.
But my point to you is Justice Thomas wasn't a lawyer in any of these cases.
That's
All
true.
he has is a wife who is a lobbyist. And what he said on that tape is that his wife. Can I have my turn?
Sure.
Okay. Because what he said in that tape is. I thought I could have my turn. I thought I was getting my turn now. Where's my turn?
Well, listen,
what
I'm
he
not-
said
I'm not
in
sure
that
when I'm gonna
tape
get cut off.
is that he believes in liberty and his wife believes in liberty. And what's happened in the past is other justices have come out and made speeches. I mean, we've had Justice Ginsburg speak to very left-leaning groups and actually speaking to groups that had cases on abortion and otherwise in front of her, and she refused to recuse herself because we have a trust in our justices. We believe that the justices
have
on
a
the
law.
left and the right,
I
if
know.
there's an
Okay.
ethical obligation, that they will
Okay,
step
let's
down
ask
and they don't need
questions now. I know you
politicians
like
or the
to give
press
speeches.
pushing
I know
on them.
you like giving speeches, but you're doing an
I
interview.
got 20
so ask the
seconds
question.
against a hard break. Go ahead.
What's the question?
Well, you
I
cleared
heard your
it.
speech.
All right,
What's
forget
your
it.
question?
I got to go, Congressman. Thank you so much for coming on. All the
Great
best to you.
interview. Aces.
Okay, so let's talk about that interview. First off, how did you feel watching that interview? So awkward, right? Very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable to watch. Chaotic energy, yeah. Why? What was going on that made it like that? Let's break it apart and think about what it was that was causing us to be uncomfortable. No mutual respect, arguing like kids, not being professional. They were talking over each other. There was not a claim. At some points there was claim and evidence for support, but it devolved into this talking over contradiction. No, that's not what I'm saying. No, that is what I'm saying. Let's talk about what the main topic was. Do you understand the main topic of this interview, what they were arguing about? Sort of. Okay, let's talk about that. Clarence Thomas is a Supreme Court justice, right? So he gets to decide cases. One of the cases that was coming up was on the Affordable Health Care Act, right? Obamacare. And the Supreme Court was going to decide whether the act could stand, was constitutional, or whether it was going to be ruled unconstitutional, and then we wouldn't have the Affordable Care Act. As you know, the act stayed, so the Supreme Court ended up ruling that it could stay. At this time, before it went before the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas's wife was a lobbyist, and a lobbyist is somebody who gets money to argue and persuade people to do something, right? So a company hires her, and then she uses her rhetoric, her powers of persuasion, to go talk to lawmakers and convince them to vote a certain way, right? That's her job. That's a whole job, okay? And she made $700,000 arguing, persuading members of Congress to vote against the Affordable Care Act, that the Affordable Care Act wasn't good, okay? And she is married to the Supreme Court justice who is going to decide this case. And now the Supreme Court justice was recorded saying, I agree with my wife, and her ideas are ideas that pursue liberty, right? So the concern for people who support the Affordable Care Act is, if his wife is pushing against it and he agrees with his wife, then he's already made up his mind on this and isn't going to be a fair and impartial judge over whether this act is constitutional or not. He's already decided, right? And if that happens in a lower court, you can appeal to the Court of Appeals or appeal to the state Supreme Court. But there is no appealing after the United States Supreme Court. There is no higher court, right? So if he's already made up his mind, he's not going to be fair in his judgment. So he should recuse himself. He should step back, right? That's the argument that Congressman Weiner was making. Megyn Kelly, who's the Fox reporter who was talking, is saying, yeah, but that's his wife who has those opinions, not him. And she was a lobbyist. That's what she's paid to do. She doesn't have a financial dependency on this. It's not like she owns a healthcare company that would get hurt or benefit from this, right? So that's what they were arguing about. With me? Yes, sort of? Okay. They started having some side arguments in there too. Side arguments about Justice Kagan and why she recused herself. Side arguments about what an interview is. You ask me questions, I answer them. No, I asked you questions and you answered them, right? Back and forth on that. Okay. So, was there a winner? Davion says no. What do you think?
No.
Okay. Why not?
Because there was no resolution. They just ended abruptly.
Were you convinced that one side was right? Not really, right? Because it had devolved in that. So that's not effective from a persuasive standpoint. Now, we can talk about ethos, logos, and pathos in there. In my last class, I had some girls who felt like Megyn Kelly won because she held her own. And that's more of a gender kind of bias issue in there because it made them angry. It made me angry too, a little bit. As a female, if you've ever been, and you guys feel this not as a female or a male, but as a teenager versus an adult. Do you guys get talked over? People just talk over you and assume that you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe they talk louder. I mean, if you've had an argument with your parents, I'm sure this has happened, right? They get angry and they talk louder. Like that makes them any more persuasive, right? The next time your parents yell at you, you can tell them that's not an effective persuasive technique. I really wouldn't do that. That's just going to make them even angrier, right? But it's not effective. You're not more convinced because your mom is yelling than if she wasn't yelling, right? That's combative. It's not effective. Okay, so why am I telling you this? Why are we doing this? Because the text you pick might feel like an argument, but if it doesn't actually have a claim and support, it's not an argument and you can't use it, all right? It has to be persuasive with claims and supports. Just because there's tension, just because there's combative elements doesn't mean it's persuasive, all right? So just be aware of that and be on the lookout for that. And they did have persuasion in here, right? He said, let me read you the law. This is how I know this is. And Megyn Kelly said, yeah, look, I've covered the court for 9 years. I was a lawyer. That's not the law. Here's the law, right? So they did have reasons and evidence, but all of that persuasion got lost in this combativeness. Okay. So we're not done. We're going to look at gender now. So we're going to move to the next page. Y'all are sticking with me. You're like champs. Okay, so we're going to talk about male and female, sex and gender. I've got a quick video for us to watch. It's on the next page if you want to join me, 2.1.3. We've talked about this a little bit, what gender is, what it means. So I'm just going to show you this video so we're all on the same page. And then we'll talk quickly about it. So be thinking about what it means. What's the difference between sex and gender? Okay.
With the concepts and tools of rhetorical analysis in mind, you're able to think logically and critically about arguments. In this unit, you'll practice these thinking skills as you read and write arguments about gender. In the rhetoric of gender, it can be hard to discern between facts, personal preferences, and arguable propositions. Therefore, it's important to clarify the different meanings of sex and gender. Sex refers to biological characteristics. Gender refers to culturally constructed characteristics. Gender is about the roles and privileges socially imposed on men and women, and about how we relate to one another within our families and society. Work wages, occupational opportunities, military service, parenting responsibilities, and emotional expressions are affected by masculine and feminine stereotypes. Next, you'll consider messages in books, music, movies, video games, and elsewhere that influence gender roles and stereotypes. Which arguments seek to justify inequities and constraints, and which arguments persuasively support social equality.
Okay, so what's the difference between sex and gender?
Gender is constructive, and the other one is.
So Davion is saying, yeah, gender is constructive. Very good, James. Sex is biological, like from health class. Female parts, male parts, right? That's biological. Gender is the social construct, all right? It's what society says is masculine and feminine. And when we did this earlier, I think it was last week, we talked about like pink versus blue, right? Attractive women versus strong men, you know, like attractive as in made up, like with makeup, versus like strong men. And that's kind of what society tells us it means to be attractive. Now, those are constantly changing, and they're also individual, right? What I find attractive may not be the same as what everybody finds attractive. But if we think about the cultural, societal context of it, there are certain things that society has decided is a feminine or a masculine role, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna watch 2 more video clips. And we're gonna talk, the first one is actually on the next page, so if you will join me. It's from The Devil Wears Prada. Okay. Here we go, let me drop this in the chat. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Okay, it's from The Devil Wears Prada, which you may or may not have seen. And Miranda, she's played by Meryl Streep right here, okay? She is making an argument here. And I want you to think about how she conforms to gender stereotypes about women, about female, about femininity, and in what way she breaks those gender stereotypes. And then we're going to talk a little bit about claims, and then we're going to watch one more clip from a masculine standpoint, okay? So quick clip, Miranda right here, and we're thinking about how she conforms to and how she breaks gender stereotypes. Feel free to take notes if you need to.
It's a tough call. They're so different.
Something funny?
No, nothing's, it's just that both those belts look exactly the same to me, I'm still learning about this stuff and,
This stuff? Oh, okay, I see. You think this has nothing to do with you. You go to your closet and you select, I don't know, that lumpy blue sweater, for instance, because you're trying to tell the world that you take yourself too seriously to care about what you put on your back. But what you don't know is that that sweater is not just blue, it's not turquoise, it's not lapis, it's actually cerulean. And you're also blithely unaware of the fact that in 2002, Oscar de la Renta did a collection of cerulean gowns. And then I think it was Yves Saint Laurent, wasn't it, who showed cerulean military jackets. I think we need a jacket here. And then cerulean quickly showed up in the collections of 8 different designers. And then it filtered down through the department stores and then trickled on down into some tragic casual corner where you no doubt fished it out of some clearance bin. However, that blue represents millions of dollars and countless jobs. And it's sort of comical how you think that you've made a choice that exempts you from the fashion industry when in fact you're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about Miranda's character there. She's making an argument, right? And she is arguing that she and the people in that room are the decision makers in the fashion industry. How does she conform to gender stereotypes and how does she break them? about what society says it means to be a woman. Let's start with Reagan. How does Miranda kind of turn around or not conform to what society says women need to be? I'll start. She's in charge. It's traditionally a male role. Women don't run the companies. She is. In fact, she's not just in charge. Men work for her. That's not the societal hierarchy. Reverse roles, yeah. Here's another thing about her. She's intelligent, right? She took down, I can't remember the actress's name, but the other character, the one in the blue sweater, she took her down succinctly, effectively, with intelligence. She was able to say it was Yves Saint Laurent who, ran with the Carillion blue, right? That's not a traditional female role. Okay. But in what ways does she conform to society? In what ways does she fulfill the idea of a female?
Having that type of knowledge about fashion.
Yes, ma'am. Women are allowed to know about fashion. That definitely fits that gender role. Fashion. And then she was attractively made up. She had makeup on. She had a great outfit put together, the way she presented herself. That was very feminine. So if a woman is going to be intelligent, this is the area which it's okay. Other acceptable areas would be education, homemaking, cooking, right? Okay. Okay, so we see that gender role there. And if we were going to pick her argument apart, and we could, right? We would also bring into it the idea that she is pushing back against some stereotypes while embracing others of women. Okay, so on this page at the bottom, you'll see some more stuff to read, okay? We've got arguable claims, facts, and personal preference statements. These are different ways to state things. Some things are claims you can make. Some things are facts. These are not stuff you can argue. They just are. And some things are personal preference statements. If you want to read that and take the quiz at the bottom, okay, you can even take a practice quiz before. But if you take the quiz at the bottom, I will give you extra credit, okay? It's up in Google Classroom. Just a reminder to do that. Okay, but we're not going to read that specifically, nor are we going to read the next page, categories of claims, major claims. Okay, you've got claims of fact, definition, cause, value, and policy. But you can read it and do the graded quiz at the bottom, and I will give you extra credit. Okay, we just don't have time to dig into all this. Okay, but it would be worth your while to read it. It will help you write a better essay. So there you go. What we are going to do is on the next page, 2.1.6. Now we're going to talk about masculinity. So let me put that in the chat. Okay. So just like we looked at Miranda in The Devil Wears Prada and how she made an argument, we're going to look at a film adaptation of the American play Glengarry Glen Ross. And this clip has got some profanity in it, so just be aware of that before I show it. But this story centers on a group of all-male real estate agents in New York during a downturn in sales performance. So they're not making as much money as they had been. As you watch, notice the types of claims that the boss, which is Alec Baldwin, makes in his speech. So he's making some claims, but notice the types of claims that he makes, how he makes them, how he conforms to gender stereotypes of masculinity, okay? All right, I'm going to press play. Feel free to take notes as you watch.
And your name is you're wanting, and you can't play in the man's game, you can't close them, then go home and tell your wife your troubles. Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. You hear me, you fucking faggots? A, B, C. A always be B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are, because it's fuck or walk. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for Christ? An action. AIDA. Get out there. You got the prospects coming in. You think they came in to get out of the rain? A guy don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you gonna take it? Are you man enough to take it?
What's the problem, pal? You, Moss. You're such a hero. You're so rich. How come you're coming down here and waste your time with such a bunch of bums?
You see this watch? You see this watch?
Yeah.
That watch costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. How much you make? You see, pal, that's who I am, and you're nothing. Nice guy? I don't give a shit. Good father? Fuck you. Go home and play with your kids. You want to work here? Close. You think this is abuse? You think this is abuse, you cocksucker? You can't take this. How can you take the abuse you get on a sit? You don't like it? Leave. I can go out there tonight. The materials you got make myself $15,000. Tonight, in 2 hours, can you? Can you? Go and do likewise. AIDA. Get mad, you son of a bitches. Get mad. You know what it takes to sell real estate? It takes brass balls to sell real estate. Go and do likewise, gents. The money's out there. You pick it up, it's yours. You don't, I got no sympathy for you. You want to go out on those sits tonight and close, it's yours. Not, you're going to be shining my shoes.
Okay. So in what ways does that character, does the Alec Baldwin character show masculinity? Conform to the stereotypes, the gender stereotypes, or the societal expectations of being a man? Was he manly? Did you think he was more feminine than masculine? No. He was man. Why? What did he do? How did he do it? Did you notice the way that when Miranda was making her argument, she didn't get in the other person's space, did she? She stayed in her own space and she started multitasking, right? Putting together the outfit while she very intelligently took the other woman down. That's not how the Alec Baldwin character did it. He didn't use intelligence. He got in their space. He bullied him. He cussed at him, right? Those are acceptable things by men in our society. Think about if a woman had do that. Take Miranda's character and have her walk around the room like that. If she had cussed like that at the staff, would that have been acceptable? Would you feel the same way about her that you do about Alec Baldwin? You might think he's a jerk, but you also think he's good at his job, right? Is that what you would have thought about her? See those societal gender stereotypes creeping in? Okay. All right, so that's really what I wanted to cover with gender and argument and what we're looking for. We got to pick our text. So that's what we're going to do. How do you pick your text? Y'all, there's so many texts out there to choose from. It's hard for me to tell you, but let's review what the criteria are, okay? So we are going to go to 3.3, I believe, in our modules. I'll put it up for you guys. Y'all, look right here, 3.3. Come here. Okay, as we're looking at this, you have to look for a text, and a text this semester means video, speech, written. Okay, text doesn't just mean written this semester. Has to be interesting, it's full of rhetorical features, that's those ethos, pathos, and logos moves. It needs to make a claim about how Americans construct gender identity. In other words, you need to pick an excellent text that uses all three major appeals and is free of logical fallacies. You can pick editorials, speeches, political cartoons, videos that are less than 5 minutes. It has to be published or broadcast within the last 5 years, okay? Where are you going to find it? Well, you're going to find it on the internet. You can look in Google Classroom, and if you look at the analyzing and editorial assignment, you've got something in here called the article bank, the annotated bib. You cannot use these, okay? But think about it. If you have people that are writing on this topic, chances are they've written other stuff on this topic. So you can use these writers and search for other stuff they've done. You can search for places where it's appeared. The New York Times, Vox Magazine, The Atlantic, okay? And if you're using the annotated bib, you want to look at that gender module specifically, okay? You can think about where this stuff would appear, right? We talked about commercials for gender-oriented products, right? Like feminine products or masculine products. They might be making statements about masculinity and femininity and society's views of that. I strongly suggest that you look for something you are interested in, okay? You are not making an argument on this. What you are doing is you are studying the argument someone else makes. Just like an engineer, before they build that bridge, they think about all the different elements they need, how they're going to put those elements together, some concrete, some steel, some asphalt. How are they going to put those things together? What is that going to look like? So you should be able to take it apart and study each of those elements separately. You're going to do the same thing with this piece. You're going to look at how the orator, the speaker, the writer takes ethos and logos and pathos and how they put it together. I had a student last period. She's super interested. She told me in tennis shoes, okay? And she doesn't like that she has to buy guy shoes because they don't make cool girl shoes, right? So we did an internet search and in 10 minutes had found a persuasive column that talked about how Nike and Air Jordan and other companies are missing the boat in marketing toward females, right? That it's too male dominated. It's perfect, right? It does everything we want it to. It was published in November of 2000. It talks about all those things. So think about what you're interested in. Think about how that might tie into a conversation about gender and society. And then find a piece. When you find a piece, you're going to go into Google Classroom and you are going to turn it in under prompt. Okay, if you've already turned it in and you want to pull it back, you can. But you're going to send a link, paste it, something. You're going to turn it in here. And then you're going to do, after you pick your text, okay? After you pick your text. And it's the same note-taking and rhetorical situation template we did last class period on an editorial from the editorial bank. This time you're going to do it on your own piece, okay? And then the extra credit is also on here. Read 2.1.5, take the graded quiz, read 2.1.4, and take the graded quiz. And that's it. That's all we're doing in class today. So if you want to stick around and hang out with me, you can. You don't need to. You can go and look for your article. If you want my help finding your article, we can do that too. Do some searching on your own and let me know if you can't find it, and I'm here to help. And that's it for class today, darlings.